After 20 years in a coma, a new Maid son discovered an incredible way to reveal hidden hope. Maria's heart sank under the weight of memories, each one heavier than the last. The summer sun filtered through the kitchen window, casting a warm glow over the clutter that filled her small home. It was a stark contrast to the laughter and joy spilling from the backyards of her neighbor's barbecue. Smoke twisted into the air as children squealed in delight. Maria's world felt sepia-toned, a faded photograph of an idyllic life she could not touch. As a maid, she scrubbed floors and dusted shelves, pouring every ounce of her being into her job to provide for her two children, Eli and his older sister, Sophia. Every penny earned chipped away at her feelings of inadequacy. Yet deep down, she longed for acceptance, for a connection beyond the glare of resentment from her own mother. Then came the day that would change everything. On a particularly sweltering afternoon, a curious Eli stumbled upon an old photo album hidden beneath forgotten toys in the attic. As he thumbed through the pages, his small fingers brushed over the fading images, each one whispering stories of the grandfather he had never met. "Mom!" Eli's voice rang out, filled with excitement and wonder. "Why did we never talk about Grandpa?" Those innocent words pierced through Maria, forcing her to confront a past buried under layers of hurt. Memories of her father, once a war hero, now nothing but a ghost in her life, flooded her mind. Memories tinged with bitterness and pain. He had fallen into a coma after a tragic accident. 2 decades had passed in a cruel limbo. Maria's chest tightened with unspoken grief, and the resentment from her mother only intensified her pain. The knowledge that the time had come for her to unearth her past left her trembling, caught between her son's curiosity and her own fears. "I don't know, Eli," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Sometimes it's easier to forget. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Fueled by childlike innocence, Eli wouldn't let it rest. "Can we visit him, Mom? Please?" He looked up at her with wide, hopeful eyes, all of his love wrapped in that one request. Maria felt the pressure building within her. Could she face the man who had been absent for so long? Doubt churned in her stomach. What if he couldn't forgive her for the years lost? What if he didn't even recognize her? As they prepared for the visit, the weight of the moment pulled at her. She wanted a world where family meant love, where pain didn't echo through generations, and forgiveness could blossom from the ashes. But as they walked through the bright hallways of the nursing home, a wave of anxiety washed over her. Standing before her father's door, breathless, Maria whispered, "Dad, I'm here." Behind that fragile declaration lay the hope of breaking a cycle that had haunted her for far too long. Would this be the moment that healed their family, or would the wounds of the past remain unhealed? Maria stood frozen, her hand poised over the doorknob, heart racing. What was she waiting for? She took a deep breath, and in that moment, Eli's gentle tug on her sleeve anchored her. His small frame held an earnestness she couldn't ignore. With a shaky exhale, she turned the knob and stepped inside. The room smelled faintly of antiseptic mixed with something genuinely comforting, like a home she never really knew. In the dim light, her father's frail figure lay beneath a rumpled blanket, a faint rise and fall with each breath he took. The machines beside him beeped softly, a rhythmic reminder of life still pulsing through his veins after 2 decades in this cocoon. Maria's eyes filled with tears as the memories flooded back. The picnics by the lake, his booming laughter ringing in her ears, and then, the heart-wrenching silence that had followed the accident. "Hi, Dad," she managed to whisper, her voice trembling. "It's me, Maria." Eli scuttled closer, unabashed in his curiosity. "Grandpa?" he asked, his voice a mixture of hope and innocence. Her father didn't respond. His eyes remained gently closed, as if he were still wandering in a dream. But Maria couldn't turn away. She felt rooted in place, paralyzed by a lifetime of regrets. What was she supposed to say? Sorry for everything? Sorry for not being there all those years while he floated away in time? She began, her throat tight. We've missed you. I've missed you. She glanced at Eli, who was staring at his grandfather with pure fascination. This is Eli, your grandson. He has been wanting to meet you. The room remained still. Maria watched for any sign that her father could hear them, that he could connect with the warmth radiating from Eli. For a heartbeat, it felt like magic. Like her words might weave through the comatose barrier that had kept them apart for so long. But nothing shifted. Eli's small hand reached out to touch his grandfather's, fingers brushing against the old, callous skin that felt so foreign yet so familiar. Can you wake up, Grandpa? He said softly. I want to play with you. In that moment, Maria felt a swell of emotions surge. A mix of pride for her son's courage and grief for the man she still loved despite everything. But as tears streamed down her cheeks, she knew this wasn't just for Eli. This was about her. Too, about daring to hope. Maria laid her head gently on the edge of the bed. I wish you were here, she whispered. I wish you could tell me what I did wrong. I wish we could talk. The moments stretched before her like an endless road, pulling at the fabric of her heart. A few quiet breaths passed. Then they heard a soft sound, a barely audible stir. Hope ignited within them. Did you hear that? Eli exclaimed, leaning in closer, his excitement palpable. Dad? Maria's heart lurched as she raised her voice, trembling with anticipation. Can you hear your family? For the first time, she thought she saw his eyelids flicker. Maria leaned in closer, feeling the warmth of a thin hand wrapping around her fingers. As the flickering of hope ignited inside her, it suddenly faded. The door creaked open, and a nurse stood at the threshold. Excuse me, but we need to check on Mr. Lopez, she began, but Maria couldn't focus on her words. All she could feel was the cold suffocation of reality closing in around them. Please, just a moment longer, Maria pleaded, desperation flooding her voice. But as the nurse entered, that flicker of connection slipped through her fingers like grains of sand. Mom, Eli said, his voice laced with concern. What's happening? Is he going to wake up? Maria held onto Eli tightly, longing for an answer that couldn't be given in that moment. I don't know, sweetheart, she whispered. The uncertainty gnawed at her heart, leaving a question hanging heavy in the air. Would they lose him all over again before they had a chance to truly know him? And as the nurse adjusted the machines, Maria's heart began to pound with even more urgency. A realization dawning that time wasn't on their side. What if this was their one chance? Was she ready to fight? For his silence to break? Maria felt the weight of expectation settle on her chest as she watched the nurse methodically adjust the 4-drip. Each click of the machine seemed to echo the ticking of a clock, counting down precious moments they didn't have. It was suffocating, and she inhaled sharply, fighting against the sense of impending loss. Mom, Eli whispered, his small voice almost drowned out by the beeping machines. Looking up at her, his wide eyes reflected a blend of hope and confusion. Is Grandpa okay? Her heart twisted at the innocence in his tone. He's doing his best. Honey, she said, forcing the words through a tight throat. We're here with him, and that's important. As the nurse continued her tasks, Maria felt a surge of clarity tide over the fear. She glanced at Eli, who still held tightly onto his grandfather's hand. With a resolve she didn't know she had, Maria took a step closer to the bed. Dad, she said, her voice steadying, you can hear me. I know you can. Please fight for us. The nurse paused briefly, glancing nervously between Maria and Eli before continuing her work. Each moment hung in the air, thick with emotion. Maria could see Eli's small fingers intertwined with her father's, and she felt an overwhelming urge to interlace her own hand with theirs. Together, she murmured, resting her palm on top of Eli's, we can reach you, we can bring you back. As if the universe was responding, Maria felt a slight tremor beneath her fingers. Eli's face lit up, and he leaned even closer. "Grandpa?" Maria held her breath, waiting, desperately hoping. The machines hummed along in their quiet routine, but the noise seemed distant now, overshadowed by the silent conversation unfolding between generations. "Dad, if you can hear me, give us a sign," Maria dared to whisper, tears mingling with the hope swelling in her chest. She almost didn't notice when the nurse stepped back, her eyes widening as she observed the interaction. "Sometimes they can respond to familiar voices," the nurse said softly, now fully engaged. "Just keep talking to him." Maria nodded, the spark of encouragement igniting the words she had longed to express. "I remember the summer nights by the lake, the stories you told me," she began, her voice a gentle stream that blended nostalgia with urgency. "The way you taught me to ride a bike and how you always cheered the hardest when I scored a goal." Eli followed suit, his excitement amplifying their voices. "I want to build a rocket ship with you, Grandpa. We'll fly to the stars and have adventures." With each shared memory and dream, Maria felt the distance between them shrink. This was beyond her father's physical form. It was a lively tapestry of love and connection that had the potential to bridge so many years. But just as hope shimmered on the edge of realization, an alarm suddenly blared, piercing through their tender moment like a thunderclap. Maria felt her heart drop as panic unfolded around them. The room erupted as nurses rushed in, a flurry of intention filling the space. "Stay back," one nurse shouted, adjusting the monitors rapidly. "What's happening?" Maria screamed, her heart racing with dread. "Just a moment. We're going to stabilize him," the nurse said, focused and determined, but Maria felt her strength falter. "No," Eli cried, his voice breaking. "Don't take him from us, please." Maria looked at her child's face, seeing fear mirrored there. The moment teetered on the edge of a precipice. Would this be a turning point that drew them closer to the unknown, or would it send them crashing back into silence? In that whirlwind of chaos, Maria's determination flared anew. She couldn't lose him again without fighting tooth and nail for his return. Was she strong enough to face whatever was coming? The tension filled the air, and as the alarms rang out, Maria's heart thundered with an unquenchable fire. Could love truly break through the silence and sparks of life they were desperately searching for? "Mom, what's happening?" Eli's voice trembled, thick with the unmistakable cocktail of fear and confusion. Maria knelt beside him, holding his small frame close. The chaos felt like it was ripping them apart, every shout and hurried movement magnifying the fragile connection they were fighting to maintain. "Stay here with Grandpa," she urged, her heart racing as she scanned the room, desperate for any sign that things would be okay. The nurse's face was a blur of focused determination, but the alarms shrieked with a raw terror that knotted her stomach. "Help him," she called out, her voice tight with desperation. The nurse looked up, her eyes reflecting both concern and professionalism. "We're trying," she said, adjusting the 4 lines with careful precision. Maria bit her lip, pulling Eli tighter against her. "He can hear us, Eli. We have to remind him why he needs to come back." She could feel Eli nod against her, his little body trembling. With a quick breath, she collected her thoughts, steeling herself for the task. "Dad, remember the fishing trip?" she began, her voice rising over the din. "You taught me to be patient and how to flip the bait just right. I still remember the way you laughed when I caught the first fish. You said it was just as big as me." Eli echoed her thoughts, summoning up childish enthusiasm against the gloom. "And the treehouse, we spent days building it, remember? You promised we would make it the coolest one in the neighborhood." His voice, bright but tinged with worry, seemed to buoy them for a moment. The chaos around them began to dull as they focused on their memories. The alarm still blared, yet the flicker of emotions shared family, love, laughter held the room together like a tether. "Each memory gives him strength," Maria thought, pushing a stray hair behind her ear, ignoring the sweat gathering on her brow. "He can't be alone in this fight. Grandpa, you always said family was everything," she continued, sharper now, desperation fueling her. "Fight for us. We're here, and we need you." Maria felt the flicker of hope reigniting, a small dance in her belly. But just as she dared to think it was building to something, the chaos returned. The head nurse rushed in, her voice hoarse from shouting orders. "Everyone, clear the room." "No." Maria's heart sank. They were being pushed away. Eli whimpered, his grip on her hand tightening. "Mom, don't let them take us away." Panic surged through Maria. "No, sweetheart. They just need to work. They'll save him." She couldn't let fear consume them now. They had come this far. The nurse met her eyes, a flicker of compassion behind the urgency. "I promise we're doing everything we can." Her words were meant to comfort, but they felt heavy as lead. "Fight for us, Dad," she whispered again, trying to penetrate the whirlwind of confusion and urgency surrounding them. Her heart thudded against her ribs as she prepared to face whatever would come next. Then, in that precious moment of vulnerability, something shifted. The alarms blared, but a new sound emerged, a faint beeping, steady and rhythmic. Maria's breath hitched. Could it be? The room filled with an energy that seemed to pulse between them all. "Is that?" Eli's eyes widened, hope flickering anew. "Dad?" Maria called, her voice trembling with unexpected anticipation. "Is that you? Are you coming back to us?" As the beeping continued, a strange sense of unity enveloped them, binding Maria and Eli together in their shared hope. In that heart-stopping moment, Maria held onto the belief that love might still find its way through. Could this signal the return of her father? What miracles might await them in the unfolding moments? The air in the room shifted, charged with tension and anticipation. Maria felt her heart pound in rhythm with the beeping, an unsteady heartbeat that echoed through her body. The chaos shrank, the voices and alarms trembling on the edges, overshadowed by the growing possibility that they might be in the presence of a miracle. "Mom, look!" Eli tugged at her sleeve, his wide eyes fixed on his grandfather's still form. The beeping had quickened. Was that a sign? The nurse had released the clamps on the 4, her focus now sharp as she leaned closer to monitor the monitors. "Dad," Maria whispered again, as if speaking louder would somehow pull him back. "Please, we're right here." Each word felt like she was weaving a delicate thread of connection, tying them together across the chasm between life and death. Suddenly, her father's eyelids flickered, barely moving, but enough to catch Maria's breath. She grabbed Eli's shoulders, urging him closer. "Look, sweetie." "He*s trying." Eli gasped, his small hands covering his mouth as they both leaned in, straining to see their dad, their grandpa. The nurse's demeanor, professional yet warm, gave Maria a smidge of hope. "Let us give him a moment," she said softly, keeping the chaos of the room at bay for just that instant. "Sometimes, they can hear us even when they seem so far away." Maria moved closer, her eyes glued to the machines that now felt like lifelines. "Remember the time we went to the lake, Dad? You showed us how to skip stones across the water. Your record was 12 skips, and you said you'd teach us your secret if we promised to keep trying, remember?" Her voice cracked, flooded with emotion. But she pressed on, fueled by a desperate need for him to respond. In that moment, a salty tear slipped down her cheek, but it was joined by something new: hope. Eli squeezed her hand, sharing that same fragile strength, as if their resolve together could bridge the rift of his absence. "We still have a lot of skimming stones to do, Grandpa," he shouted, unwittingly letting his little heart carry the boldness that Maria wished she could summon. Then, with a quiver that traveled through the air, her father stirred. For Maria, it was a movement that punched through the despair, igniting everything inside her. The monitors beeped louder, almost as if in agreement, cheering him on. "Come back to us, Dad," she pleaded, her voice softer now, but full of conviction. "We love you. Don't be scared. Just reach for us." In a heartbeat that felt eternal, his fingers twitched. Was it real, or a mere figment of the wishful hope they clung to? As if on cue, that same warmth seemed to spread through the room. The head nurse turned, her brows raised in cautious optimism. "Stay with him. Focus on the moments you shared." The beeping intensified, keeping time with Maria's hopeful heart. Just then, Another figure emerged from the chaos, a doctor. A man in a white coat with a steady presence. He assessed the situation with sharp, perceptive eyes. "We have to stabilize him," the doctor declared with authority, while wrestling against the gravity of the room. The energy felt electric. Maria grasped Eli's hand tighter, wanting them to be anchored together as everything spiraled. "Please," she whispered again, desperate for a miracle. "We aren't ready to say goodbye." Her plea lingered in the air, heavy and hopeful as they both held onto each other, bridging their love to the man who had always been their anchor. Could they be witnessing the beginning of a journey back to life? Or was this a fleeting moment, a flicker before darkness once more descended? The question danced in the air as hope surged with every beeping sound that broke the tension, urging forward the anticipation of what could come next. The world felt like it was holding its breath, suspended in the moment that followed. Maria scarcely dared to blink, her eyes fixed on her father's still face. Eli, at her side, mirrored her intensity, both children unaware of the subtle power they wielded with their love and belief. The doctor moved swiftly, directing the nurse. "Get the crash cart ready," he said, urgency lacing his voice. Maria's heart quickened, pounding like a drum as dread crept back into her mind. She squeezed Eli's hand tighter. "What does that mean, Mom?" Eli asked, his small voice trembling with confusion. "It means they're doing everything they can, sweetie," she whispered, forcing her own voice to be steady. She never wanted her son to feel the weight of fear, not when hope felt so close. The machinery around them buzzed and beeped, filling the room with a chorus of medical tunes. For a moment, they all seemed larger than life. Her father, the nurse, the doctor, and her little boy locked in this emotional whirlwind. As she watched, her father's brow furrowed ever so slightly. Just a flicker at first, but enough to send tendrils of excitement shooting through Maria. "Dad," she cried softly, her voice breaking. "Please, if you can hear me, fight. We need you. I need you." A wave of emotion washed over her. Memories surged like a tidal wave, each one flooding her mind with love, laughter, and the warmth of family moments shared. She could see his smile when they sat at the kitchen table playing cards, the way he twirled her hair while reading her a bedtime story, and the feel of his strong arms wrapping around her when life felt too big to handle. Eli looked up at her, his eyes glistening. "Do you think he heard us, Mom?" "I hope so," she replied, brushing a hand through Eli's hair. "I really do." The nurse adjusted the foredrip, glancing back at them. "Stay close, speak to him. Remind him of what's out there waiting. He needs to know why he should fight." With every ounce of her being, Maria nodded. "Remember the Christmas after I graduated?" she began, her voice steadying with each word. "You picked me up from school in your old blue truck, and we blasted Christmas music all the way home. You taught me how to tie the perfect bow on my gifts. I still do it just like you do." Eli piped up, excitement replacing fear. "Grandpa, remember the dog you promised to get me if I made straight A's? I still want him." The monitor's beeping picked up again, surreal and synchronized with the renewed energy coursing through the room. Maria felt her heart race. Could it be? Her father's eyelids fluttered again, longer this time. There was a hint of a smile forming on his lips, the kind that had always lit up the whole room. Maria inhaled sharply, lessening the distance they all felt. Suddenly, the doctor stepped back, shock dancing across his features. "Get ready. He stabilizing. Do you see that, Eli? He coming back." For the first time since they entered this whirlwind, Maria felt a flicker of certainty, a tiny flame igniting in her chest. They weren't just waiting anymore. They were part of something magnificent, a force that coaxed life back from the brink. But as reality rushed back, she couldn't help but wonder, would this be enough to pull him fully from the shadows? Would they reclaim their days at the lake? Just then, shadows darted in her peripheral vision. A man's silhouette stood at the door, lingering like an unfinished thought. Her breath hitched in her throat as curiosity battled her fears. Who was this stranger, and how did he fit into their delicate narrative of hope? To find out what he might bring, Maria faced the unknown, ready to confront whatever came next, trusting that together they could still chase away the darkness. Maria's heart drummed in her chest as her gaze flicked to the doorway, her mind racing to comprehend the figure stepping into the room. A tall man, clad in a rumpled suit, looked both out of place and wholly at home in the sterile environment. His eyes were striking piercing, yet there was something soft about them that tugged at Maria's instincts. "Excuse me," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos. "I'm looking for Maria Garcia." She felt Eli's grip on her hand tighten as he peered at the stranger with wide eyes, switching his focus between Maria and this newcomer. "Mom, who is he?" "I don't know," Maria stuttered, confusion crisscrossing her emotions like a tangled thread. The man tilted his head slightly, a gesture that felt oddly reassuring. "I promise, I'm not here to cause trouble. I come with news about your father." The word slid through her mind like a whisper. "News?" Maria's breath caught as a flood of hope rushed through her again, battling her instincts to tread carefully. "What do you mean?" she managed to ask, her voice steadying after a moment. He stepped closer, his eyes locked on hers as if gauging her response. "I've been following your father's case for years. I believe I can help you." Before she could respond, the doctor stepped forward, concern etched across his face. "Who are you? What do you know about my patient?" The man held up a hand, calm and firm. "I understand your protectiveness. I'm Daniel Reyes. I can explain everything, but this isn't the place." Maria's heart raced, her instincts screaming for caution. But was her father's chance at life sitting right in front of her? "What do you need to tell me?" Daniel hesitated, glancing at her father. Everything suddenly felt heavier, every breath weighed down with possibility and fear. "I can't say it all here, but I've looked into alternative therapies your family has never considered. Some experimental methods that your father might respond to better than what he is currently getting." "Experimental? What's that supposed to mean?" Maria challenged, the protective edge in her voice flaring up. "Forgive me, I don't mean to alarm you. It's not a magic solution. It's a choice, one that comes with risks, but it could mean a better chance for him. And you'll need to decide quickly." Elias' eyes darted between them, sensing the tension. "Mom, what is going on? Can we help Grandpa?" It was one question, but it tore at Maria's heart. Her father needed her. But what if this man was leading them down a path of false hope? Yet as she looked back at her father, vulnerable yet stable, she felt an urgency sweep over her. The machines around them beeped rhythmically, grounding her in the precious seconds ticking away. Would she risk it all for a chance to bring him back fully, or deny him hope based on fear? "Okay," Maria said finally, feeling every bit of strength coalesce in her voice. "Tell me what we need to do." Eli squeezed her hand, his little fingers warm and strong. What stood before them was not just a stranger. He was a bridge toward the unknown. As Daniel began outlining the options, Maria's heart swelled with too many emotions to name. Some part of her felt relief perched on the edge of joy, scared yet excited. Only time would tell if they were truly stepping toward a new beginning or falling deeper into an abyss. And just then, the monitor beeped loudly, echoing in the hollow silence that followed. Maria's breath caught again, an unsettling mixture of dread and anticipation as she glanced at her father, who lay there still, caught between two worlds. But as she began digesting Daniel's words, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was the moment where everything could change. What if they weren't alone in this fight? What if hope wrapped itself around them, unseen but palpable? With her heart racing, she turned back to Daniel. "Let us find a way," whatever that may mean, as the echoes of her decision hung in the air. Maria felt the walls closing, and a choice wasn't merely about her father anymore. It reached out, marching into the unknown that lay ahead. Could this be the beginning of the healing they all so desperately craved? Maria absorbed Daniel's words, each sentence weighing heavy on her heart. The room felt both constricting and suffocating, as if the walls themselves were leaning in, waiting for her response. Time stood still. It was as if her father's life hung in balance, tied to the choices she was about to make. Alternative therapies? She whispered, half to herself. What kind of alternatives? Daniel glanced at Eli, then back to Maria, his expression shifting to one of genuine concern. There are methods out there that many overlook. Some involve innovative approaches, things beyond conventional medicine. You just need to be open to the possibility. Open to what? Maria pressed, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. You can't just throw ideas around like they're nothing. I understand, Daniel said, his tone steady and calm. But your father is more than just a patient. He is a person with history, with memories and dreams. If he hasn't responded to traditional treatments, it might be time to explore the uncharted territories of medicine. Maria shifted her weight from one foot to the other, her resolve crumbling under the mounting pressure. Eli's small hand remained gripped in hers, a source of warmth and innocence that reminded her of the stakes. What if this doesn't work? What if we lose him trying something that could hurt him more? Every option comes with risks, Daniel said, his voice barely above a whisper. But doing nothing may not be an option anymore. You know that better than anyone. Maria's mind flashed back to her childhood, to warm days spent laughing with her father in their backyard, everything feeling safe and right. She remembered the joy in his eyes, the way he encouraged her, always believing she could achieve her dreams. But as the years went by, that father began to fade away into a quiet, still shell. Mom, what are you thinking? Eli's voice broke through the fugue, and she looked down at him, the innocent curiosity radiating from his young face. She took a deep breath, fighting back the tears that pricked at her eyes. I don't know, Eli. But she did know. I don't want to lose him, Eli said, his voice trembling. A lump formed in Maria's throat. Neither do I, baby. But I also don't want to stand by and watch him simply fade away. Daniel watched them with earnest eyes, as if he understood the burden they were both carrying. What if you had an option that felt right, something you could fight for together? Something that could ignite a new spark? Like what? Maria asked, a hint of anger surfacing. What if I fail him? What if I fail you? Daniel took a step forward, reaching out to Maria gently. It's not about failure. It's about hope. It's about doing everything in your power to bring him back. You and Eli deserve that chance. A heavy silence enveloped the room. The machines hummed and beeped, echoing her heart's heavy pounding. Maria turned her gaze back to her father, laying there so fragile, so vulnerable. Each breath was a reminder of the man he was, the one she was determined to restore. I need to talk to the doctor, she finally said, determination sparking within her. I need to know what we can do, what risks are involved. I want to know how we can move forward. Daniel nodded, understanding the urgency of her resolve. You're doing the right thing. Maria took a deep breath, feeling a flicker of something deep inside, a small, flickering flame of hope. Let us get started. As they moved to the door, Maria felt her heart racing, fueled by a mix of fear and determination. A new beginning awaited her, but so did the shadows of uncertainty. And what if the path ahead revealed not just the possible salvation of her father, but also truths about their family she had long buried? With that thought flashing in her mind, Maria stepped into the hallway, ready to embrace whatever was to come. In the brightly lit hallway, Maria felt a mix of urgency and apprehension. The sterile scent of antiseptic filled the air, clinging to her like a second skin. Her heart thudded in her chest as she led Eli toward the nurse's station, determined to find answers. Eli, small and needing reassurance, kept glancing up at her. Mom, are we going to save Grandpa? His wide eyes sparkled with that innocent hope children wear, untainted by the weight of adulthood. Maria knelt down to meet his gaze, forcing a nod. We're going to do everything we can, sweetheart. But inside, uncertainty gnawed at her. What if this was just another dead end? When they reached the nurse's station, Maria felt a surge of energy. Excuse me, she said, her voice steady. I need to speak with Dr. Hartman about my father's treatment options. The nurse, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, looked up from her computer. Sure thing. Let me see if he is available. Please have a seat. They settled into plastic chairs, the sound of buzzing fluorescent lights almost drowning out the noise around them. Eli fidgeted, his small hands twisting in his lap. Can we do something fun after this? He asked, breaking through the tension. Of course, Maria replied, ruffling his hair. Just a little talk, and then maybe we can grab ice cream? Eli's face lit up, momentarily pushing aside the sorrow that lingered in the air. Maria couldn't help but smile back at him. Just then, Dr. Hartman emerged, his brow furrowed but his expression softening upon seeing them. Maria, doctor, she replied, standing. I need to understand my father's situation better. What alternatives do we have? Please, he said, motioning for them to follow him to a quieter corner. Let us talk privately. Eli stayed close to her, clutching her hand as they moved. In the private space, the doctor leaned against the wall, taking a moment to gather his thoughts. Maria, I know you've been overwhelmed. Your father's condition is complex, but there could be options. Options? She echoed, feeling a flicker of that fragile hope again. What kinds? Things like integrative therapies, acupuncture, nutritional support, and even clinical trials for new medications. It's about finding ways to boost his immune response and improve his quality of life, he explained. Are these safe? Maria inquired, her heart racing with fear for her father's frail state. They carry risks, yes, Dr. Hartman admitted, meeting her gaze. But sometimes taking those risks can lead to unparalleled breakthroughs. It's about weighing the benefits against the potential outcomes. Maria felt torn. The thought of trying something new was terrifying, but maybe, just maybe it could bring her father back to them. What about the treatments you mentioned, the trials? The doctor hesitated. Those will require evaluation, and not all patients get access right away. There's an application process and it might take time. I don't care how long it takes, Maria said, her determination burning bright. I want to do this for my dad. Then we'll need to act quickly, Dr. Hartman responded, a flicker of approval in his eyes. I'll get my team to prepare the necessary information, and we can discuss this further. As they returned to the main corridor, Maria felt the weight of uncertainty lighten slightly. They would fight together and maybe, just maybe, they could bring back the man who had always been her rock. But as they walked back to her father's room, a sinking feeling crept in. What if not all secrets buried would stay hidden? What if the truths that came to light changed everything? Carrying that concern, Maria opened the door, ready for whatever lay ahead. Inside the softly buzzing room, Maria's heart raced. She felt the weight of the moment her father lay there, caught between two worlds, and she had made a choice. Choice. That was a word that held so much power and so much fear. Okay, Dad, she whispered, stepping forward, her voice firm but laced with a tremor of vulnerability. We're going to fight for you. We're going to explore every avenue. Eli stood beside her, his small hand squeezing her arm as if lending her strength. As they entered the room, Maria felt the familiar swell of hope against the backdrop of uncertainty. The machines beeped in rhythm, a soft lullaby punctuated by the echo of voices from the bustling hallway outside. Mom, Eli said quietly, glancing at his grandfather. Do you think he knows we're here? Tears pricked at Maria's eyes, but she blinked them away, focusing on the flickering light that meant there was still life in that fragile body. I think he can feel us, sweetheart. We just have to keep reminding him. Maria stepped closer to the bed, taking a deep breath to steady her nerves. Dad, she said softly, we're with you. We're not going away. You've got to fight for us. Eli climbed onto the edge of the bed, positioning himself right beside Maria. We want to play with you, Grandpa, he exclaimed, innocence radiating from his small frame. We want to make that rocket ship together, remember? In those moments, Maria spoke to her father, effortlessly drawing on memories, doing her best to weave together a tapestry of love and laughter. She nearly forgot the chaos surrounding them as she focused solely on the man who had shaped her, the man who could wake up. As if her words had woven magic, a flicker of movement caught Maria's eye. She gasped, gripping Eli's small hand tighter. Did you see that? See what? Eli leaned in closer, his eyes wide with excitement. The way his finger twitched, she breathed, exhilaration coursing through her. Dad, if you can hear us, please, we need you. Suddenly, the door swung open, and Daniel rushed in, eyes filled with urgency. Maria, I overheard a conversation about a trial that just opened up related to your father's condition. Could be our shot at something miraculous. Maria looked between Daniel and her father. What do we need to do? They're looking for participants, but we need to act fast. The enormity of the choice gripped Maria's heart with both fear and exhilaration. If she said yes, they would be stepping into the unknown together. Let us do it, she declared, her voice steady. We'll take that chance. Daniel nodded, a sense of relief washing over him. I'll get the paperwork rolling. I can be the liaison, get all the information you need. Thank you, Maria said, her heart swelling with gratitude. With a quick motion, she reached for Eli's hand, her little anchor. As Daniel left to gather the details, Maria returned to her father's bedside. You hear that, Dad? We're gonna fight this together, she murmured, and Eli added, and I'll keep reminding you how much fun we're going to have, all those adventures waiting for us. Moments stretched on, filled with quiet anticipation. Maria leaned closer to her father, whispering every cherished memory, each more vibrant than the last. But then there it was again. A tremor beneath her fingertips, the subtle shifting of hope. The machines beeped faster. Eli, look, Maria gasped. Yes, responding. Eli's eyes sparkled with wonder. You hear us? Grandpa, come back. Fight. Dad, come back to us. Maria urged, willing every ounce of love into those words, as if sheer will could pull him from the brink of his own dreams. And then it happened, a soft sound threaded through the air, like the sound of a gust of wind passing through a hollow space. For the briefest of moments, Maria thought she heard her father's voice, a mere whisper caught on the edge of a dream. But the sound carried weight, a promise. Maria felt a rush of elation, her heart soaring. Not only was he still with them, but he had heard her. Yes, Dad. Yes. And then, just as quickly, the alarms around them surged again. Nurses rushed in, and chaos erupted. But this time Maria stood firm, driven by the pulse of hope. Mom, what is happening? Eli cried, confusion mixing with tears. Stay with Grandpa, Eli. We'll get through this, she vowed, their connection anchoring her. Each beep of the machines now blended with a renewed energy, a promise that they could overcome anything if they fought for it. As Daniel returned with the information she needed, Maria felt an unwavering determination flow through her. They would battle through the storm together, and her father's love would guide them back into the light. With every passing moment, she held their hopes high like a flag, leading them toward what lay ahead, a future where family bonds, rekindled through faith and courage, could chart the path back to life. Together, we will find the way, Maria said softly, eyes burning bright with conviction. The journey was just beginning. Yet in the sea of uncertainty, hope shone like a beacon, guiding them forward into a brighter tomorrow. Now, dear friends, as this incredible journey reaches its heartwarming conclusion, I need you to act. Subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will ignite your spirit. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure more people experience these amazing transformations. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your voice matters. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness the power of love, hope, and family. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait, not even one more second.